The kind of measurable things that we can do from a physiological standpoint have been fantastic. Guys are working hard, excited for the challenge to come. Good. Similar. I would say similar to the last couple weeks, but good. Again, I think it's just kind of a gradual. Progression of confidence, kind of thing.
You talked about finding a guy at quarterback. Find that this week. You have an idea going into the game?
Yeah, I think we have an idea, and certainly from a package standpoint, a schematic standpoint, I think we know where we are, and we'll keep that internal.
Will the weather play into what you do at all? If it's raining, would that affect?
Rain doesn't really affect much. If we get into a big wind situation, that might affect some things. We'll wait and see the conditions. Yeah, it's supposed to be raining, but we'll handle that okay.
Is DeForest getting triple team kind of like the ultimate credit of how good you are?
It would have to be, right? I mean, he's been. Yeah, the exception is when there are very few times has he been single blocked, if any, or if it's a one-man deal with an offensive lineman, he'll get help from a tight end or a tailback. But more often than not, it's two offensive linemen at a minimum, and sometimes three, sometimes two and a tailback, and that's where we need all those other guys to win the one-on-ones when they're in those situations.
The last couple weeks when Taylor and Jeff kind of got their first real shots at this thing, obviously they were brimming with excitement. Everything was right in front of them. They kind of had some struggles, though. Has that dimmed their confidence? Do you sense that in the study room on the practice field? Is their confidence where it needs to be?
I don't sense that necessarily. I think they've had Jeff had a really good week of practice this week, really good week, and so I think that's where it kind of shows up. The uncertainty or maybe not. Being as detailed in the preparation is something that usually shows up when a guy's in that frame of mind, and so from that standpoint, no, they've been good.
Arion mentioned that practice has been a little more chippy this week, in a good way. Have you seen guys being more vocal this week after last week's loss?
Yeah, I think more physical, more vocal, both good things. Try to just ratchet that up a little bit at different times, both in the scout teams and in the stuff that we do against each other. That was positive.
Is there any talk to the younger guys about when you go to UW that not fighting back? Maybe I don't know if that's the right word to say, but that it's going to get chippy, it's going to get vocal, and kind of contain your emotions?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's some certain elements of what they do that where that comes up, whether it's in special teams or a few other places. But there's elements of that in every game where you have to finish through the whistle physically, aggressively, 100% legally, and walking away from something if something like you're alluding to occurs.
Devin said a moment ago that Washington's secondary, they may not have one set wrinkle that you can sort of expose. Sort of depends on what they give you. Is that pretty accurate? Do they have one? Is there one area that you feel like you can exploit depending on no matter what they show, or is that sort of what defense they show you? You got to exploit exactly what they're giving you.
They do a great job of mixing two high looks and playing zone, and then single high looks and mixing man and zone. And they play very deep in the secondary and kind of keep everything in front of them and let whether their combination of kind of the hybrid outside backers, defensive end guys really account for the run game, and then their corner is a little slower out in a too high defense, and they just kind of it's kind of one of those things of people say a bend don't break type of philosophy, but then they get after people up front with what they've done.
Have you noticed any notable differences in Royce this year in terms of improvements? I mean, you had some psychological things you wanted to do to be a better team leader, but physically on the field, how was he improved this year?
I think just trying to become, he's battled some nicks and dings, but I think trying to become a complete player in every way. He, obviously can run the ball fairly well, and then just putting together being a great protector, a great route runner, a great receiver. He just shows up every day with a great desire to get better, and I think that's a great lesson for those younger guys that they think you just kind of show up and carry the ball at tailback, and seeing a guy that's that good work that hard is really important.
Is protection something that you see a lot from star high school running backs where maybe they're not asked to do that a ton because they're just
Usually,
the option?
usually that's a thing. I mean, obviously you're going to try to recruit a guy that has that element to him, and I think all the guys that are behind Royce have that ability and willingness. They just haven't done it a ton yet. But the toughness part of it is not a question.
Tony Brooks-James was a kind of part of that rotation early on. Makes some things, kept him out. Where does he stand this week with Royce, Taj, that backfield?
Right, Royce, obviously is the 1A, and then I think a combination of all those other three, in some order of Taj, Kanai, Tony, and then there's some specific things that each guy has in the plan. And that's one thing you have to be careful of too, is just overworking Royce and letting that wear and tear build up too much.
Did you anticipate Royce being involved in the passing game this much? He's already surpassed his numbers from last year there.
Yeah, he was a guy. He's got great hands, and he's a really good route runner for his physique and his position. He does a great job, and obviously when you can get that guy in the open field or on an edge of an arm tackle situation, it's a good thing.
Have you thought at all about why our road teams do so well in the Pac-12 last year and this year?
That is bizarre. I have no explanation for that. I hope it continues this week. I'm all for it right now. Yeah.
Obviously, you guys don't care much about the past, but the streak is kind of a big deal for Oregon and the fans. Is there a sense of added pressure that guys don't want to be the team that breaks the streak or loses the streak?
Not necessarily the streak. I mean, we've talked about the rivalry and the history of the rivalry, and whether it's the guys that aren't from around here or don't have a total sense of what that means. And we have a sense of urgency and a to use your word, pressure to perform every week. Thanks.
Thanks, Mark.